El Martínez es un proyecto colaborativo de Rainbow Lobster. Hoy tenemos una promoción legendaria. Si te suscribes esta semana en Spotify, Apple Podcast o donde oyes tus podcasts regularmente, te vas a llevar automáticamente 1000 puntos extras de buen karma de parte de todo el equipo. Con lo cual puede ser que en tu próxima vida te toque ser un perro consentido que no debe preocuparse por la comida. Aplica también para los que hoy visiten elmartinez.net.
Yes, this is an episode in English, so please, if you don't speak Spanish, skip the next part and go directly to your podcast bar de siempre del Martínez. If you are not an English speaker, ahí te va. Esta es la primera vez que hacemos un episodio del Martínez en inglés. Y es que aunque nuestro gran invitado hubiera podido hablar esto en portugués y portuñol, hubiera sido como un poco complicado de entendernos, por eso decidí que lo hacíamos en English, a ver si se nos da. De verdad que vale muchísimo la pena y por eso decidí hacer este primer episodio del Martínez en inglés. Dense el tiempo, échenlo para atrás, échenlo para adelante, porque obviamente tampoco es como que uno sea un gran English speaker, pero oigan lo que tiene que decir, porque este tipo es un distinto. ¿Sí o no, Marley? No, pero Marley, dínoslo en inglés, ¿no? Para que suene como debe ser, como viene la noche.
He is the founder of Pereira Hotel San Francisco and New York. Winner of an Emmy, bestselling author, and recipient of several Cannes Lions Grand Prix awards. He has become one of the most influential and respected creatives in the world. A Brazilian who worked as an interactive creative director at DM90DV, he was also a co-founder of AgenciaClick.
Ajá, ¿cómo lo vieron? Que no se diga que en esta casa no se habla inglés. Marley, you are the biggest. So yes, this is like you hear it. Es un gran autor, un tipo distinto. Esa noche, de hecho, empezamos hablando de su primer libro que está por lanzar este mismo año, que está ahorita en preventa, y que habla de una mezcla entre inteligencia artificial, artes marciales, inteligencia artificial e inmortalidad.
The way I like to look at AI is that it's not a tool, it's a new kind of computing. So it was as natural as drawing and writing was. So it's like for me, it was a creative way of playing with my creativity. So it's like the difference between riding a bike and riding a horse. AI is it's not a tool, but it's a kind of a way of looking at computing, a way of computing in general.
Inteligencia artificial, de la cual estuvimos hablando toda la noche. Me imagino que ya entienden por qué, porque esto vino a cambiar el mundo. Nada más que este libro lo venía escribiendo hace 8 años. Y pasamos sobre cómo esta nueva aplicación de la tecnología ha venido a poner en la mesa que por primera vez las computadoras sean parte del proceso creativo.
AI is going to be part of every Photoshop or image manipulating thing in the world. It's going to be part of every editing, every special effects suite. It's going to be part of text editors. And, my creative experiments with AI in the advertising space are more about imagining me than imagining the technology. I'm trying to understand who I am going to be, not how the technology is going to be. It's different.
Después nos fuimos un poquito al pasado y empezamos a hablar de una campaña que él hizo, que a mí me pareció una belleza, que es de Beauty Insight para Toshiba e Intel, y que fue de esas cosas que te dan envidia cuando las ves, porque fue el branded content colaborativo con la gente participando dentro de la historia, y fue una belleza, y obviamente tenía que preguntarle cómo había salido esa idea.
The form and the way you tell a story for me has always been highly dependent on the medium, and I always like to play with the implications of the format. And the beauty site actually happened because we were wondering, loves movies and loves social media. How can we create a movie that is social in nature, and so we created a character that would talk to the audience and would allow the audience to play the character. And what kind of story allows the audience to play the main character? All right, what if it's a character that every day wakes up in a different body? So it's a fantastical kind of crazy premise. Was a very romantic little magical tale told through technology, but it wasn't about technology, it was a love story.
Le pregunté y me contó sobre el proceso creativo también detrás de ADC 101+1, que es esta experiencia digital inmersiva que se creó para celebrar al Art Directors Club en sus 102 años. Y lo que hicieron fue que pusieron a 101 directores de arte a trabajar con la inteligencia artificial, y ese es el +1.
That project came from the conversation I'm having with Kevin, the CEO of the One Club, and we're talking about how we all sense that AI has to do with the future of this business. Some people hate that it has to do with it, and some people love that it has to do with it because it resets the whole thing. What if we do that with the 101 professionals and then have a discussion and collect the impression that they have? So that's why not only they're doing the work, but they're recording, they're submitting videos with their experience and what they felt after doing that. And that experience is actually what the work is.
Y terminamos la conversación hablando de la narrativa como esa cosa fundamental que nos une a todos como seres humanos y que además sabemos que tiene un rol increíble en cómo nos comunicamos, hacia dónde vamos. Hablamos de Harari, hablamos de artes marciales y cómo ese tipo de expresiones del ser humano hacen que nos divirtamos, ¿vale? Con lo que más nos gusta, que es la competencia.
My father was a judo black belt, so I cannot remember a day that I didn't think of myself as a martial artist. I remember seeing the first UFC and looking at that for like, that's what I want to do for a living. Not the fight itself. I don't mind the fighting. I don't mind losing. It's always switches, which is the nature of competition. It's the nature of war. It's the nature of any kind of competition which is true with creativity as well, which is, I think is going to be the next few decades of creativity with the participation of artificial intelligence is going to be a little bit like that.
So that's it, mis hermanos. Everybody come to the table. Bring your glasses and take the wine, because it's the moment to celebrate. O lo que es lo mismo, la manera de la celebración en este Martínez que es trilingüe, puntilingüe, pentalingüe. Que comiencen las hostilidades para recibirlo, porque él es PJ Pereira.
Dear PJ, nice to meet you. Thank you for this time. It is really a pleasure to talk with you. So I don't know how much, because this is the first time that we're going to record my podcast in English.
All right,
so, which is kind of interesting. So I don't know how familiar you are with the podcast, but what I'm going to invite you is to what you are now. Where in San Francisco?
I'm in New York.
You're in New York.
Technically, I'm in Connecticut, but in the border with New York State.
Oh, okay. So you are there. You're the East Coast.
Yeah.
I'm in LA right now. So what I'm going to invite you is, why don't we take a plane and we go to El Martínez in Cannes?
All right.
And so to have a drink over there in that bar.
I'm there.
Okay, let's do it.
I'm there.
Let's go.
Bienvenidos a El Martínez. ¿Qué le servimos para empezar?
So here we are, bienvenido. Look at this. What are you've been here many times, huh? I know.
Yes. I think that for the last 20 years, every year, with the exception of the year that Cannes didn't happen.
Oh, well, so you pretty know. Hey, François, s'il vous plaît. And what are you going to have today, mi hermanito? What do you want to drink?
I'll have a rosé.
Rosé. Let's ask for the François, the big one. You know the messenger one. You know the one that goes with the
The one you used to celebrate.
Exactly, the one that you've used many times, by the way. So anyway, no, really, really a pleasure, man. It's I don't know. It's interesting how speaking about how many times you come here, how you change your life, like coming from Brazil, working in the digital era, trying to convince a lot of people how internet was important when nobody was seeing it. So now live here in US with this amazing and very successful agency. Tell me a little bit about that journey. For there are some people here in the table that is like, okay, who is PJ and what is he doing now?
All right, so I started my career as a programmer, right? And I worked as a programmer for about 10 years, 10 years. And then when the internet went from text mode to graphic mode, and the web was invented and everything, I sent an email to a few agencies in Brazil saying that I thought that the internet and advertising probably have something to do with each other, and I could help them figure that out. I had no idea what I was saying. But then somehow one of them hired me, and I think that 2 years later, 2 years later, and started the Cyber Lion competition. We won a gold.
So that was one of the first one, right?
It was the very first year.
What was that? 99?
I don't know.
98 maybe? No, because I competed in the cyber competition, the first one for young creative your life. So yeah, I know what you mean. It was a moment that it made sense at the moment. But as you said, you had to actually convince people of how important internet was. Wasn't it that crazy?
Yeah, it was at that time. It's funny to see all the different categories that Cannes. But at that time, imagine that Cannes was film, and they had created the press and poster category a few years back, and it was already like a war. A lot of people did not like it,
right?
Because how come? Like, yeah, you're gonna make it weaker if it's not just film, and then created digital kind of cyber category. It was blasphemy. It was for the mainstream advertising world. They hated. It's not that they didn't understand it. They hated the fact that existed. They did not want it there.
It was even worse. Wait. So we have the rosé here, man. Cheers for those years. Cheers. I'm thinking that now we are in a moment that I hear you speaking about artificial intelligence. I know it doesn't have anything to do with internet, because everybody knows that AI is gonna change everything as we know it. But in a way, you still, pushing forward and thinking forward in terms of what's next and how creativity is gonna be benefit from in this case what is a new tool for all of us in terms of creation. No, where does that come from? Always looking for how the relationship with computers. I think that I will put it there. Are gonna make us better creatively.
Yeah, I the way I see this, the way I like to look at AI is that it's not a tool, it's a new kind of computing. When I started as a programmer, I learned to program when I was 8 years old. That's when programming started.
Wow.
8, 9 years old. So it was as natural as drawing and writing was. So it's like for me, it was a creative way of playing with my creativity. Everything that I learned in terms of computing after that had somehow, I could see it because of my programming days. To all right, the computers understand that. You make a list, you give them orders, you give them commands, and they'll follow. It is different now. what AI is doing is a fundamentally different way of looking at computing, because it's not a format, it's not a relationship that is based on you give a command, the computer executes. It's more based on you give the computer a set of rules, you expose the computer to a universe of data, and then the computer starts to learn from things that you're giving and things that you're not giving. So it's like the difference between riding a bike and riding a horse. Now, a bike follows everything, will do exactly what you want it to do, but you're the power.
Mm-hmm.
A horse has way more power, but it will make some decisions by itself. AI is not like, it's not a tool, but it's a kind of a way of looking at computing, a way of computing in general that turns every digital tool into a horse, not a bike.
Right.
It's not that we can opt out of it. It's not like, should we be using AI or not? We're not going to have a choice. AI is going to be part of every Photoshop or image manipulating thing in the world. Is going to be part of every editing, every special effects suite is going to be part of text, of editors, and word processing and everything. So we just don't have a choice.
Yeah.
AI is part of what we do, period. It's just a matter of, if we start to look at that now and imagine how the world could be, we can start to reimagine your own career for what it is. So my creative experiments with AI in the advertising space are more about imagining me than imagining the technology. I'm trying to understand why I'm going to be, not how the technology is going to be. It's different.
So, but that's the kind of thinking and the reflection that comes when we talk about AI, right? Like, as you say, for the first time, we have a moment when the tool is bringing part of the ideas to the table.
Yeah.
No, and thinking about that is also understanding that you have an entity as a computer, as a robot, that it has his own way of bringing conclusions to the table, and is another partner that is over there. Yeah. And I think that's when and here is, I want your thought, PJ, but in your new the book that is coming, that is by the way in pre-order now, no, anybody can pre-order, that is called The Girl from Wudang. There's this thing that I found fascinating, that is the question that what will be scariest, having a lot of human brains together, like coming up and bringing the control of the world, or actual machines. I put that in the table because I found fascinating, because everybody's talking about how AI is gonna take over the world and we're gonna be the slaves. But here is a different point of view.
Un bar inclausurable. El Martínez.
This is how this story came to be, and thanks for bringing that up, by the way. Yeah. I think, and this is less of futurism and more of as a novelist, you can imagine futures that may be less or more probabilities, maybe higher or lower. I don't care. I can just create the universe as a thought experiment and write a story around that, right? So the experiment that I was doing with my own head is kind of like this. There are two emerging technologies or fields of technology that are growing rapidly around us, that have the potential to be as important to human individually. They have the potential to be as important to society as electricity or the wheel or even fire. That is, one of them is artificial intelligence. It could be the first time that we can create tools that think by themselves and may eventually maybe get smarter than us. So it can be a significant leap in terms of our the world's ability to think and evolve, right? If that's good or bad for us, if we're going to be enslaved or not, if we're going to stay on top or not, I'm not trying to get there. I'm just thinking that we're at the verge of that happening. There's another fundamental field of science and technology and research that is happening that maybe is a little bit further, but it's not that much, especially with AI, because it's going to allow that to accelerate. That is brain interfaces. There are lots of studies that has started in the 60s, to be honest, but now technology is evolving, is catching up with the miniaturization, the nano bots and elements like that allow computers to connect to brains. If a computer can connect to a brain, there are thought experiments already in the scientific world. There's kind of trying to architect what will happen if brains connect to each other to create super brains. And they say like two idiots, if they connect their brains, they will be immediately smarter than Einstein.
Exactly.
The sheer processing power will be stronger than Einstein. So the story that was built, it was like, all right, what if because we are afraid of the scalability of artificial intelligence, what if society decided, or a group of people decided to really invest on connecting brains so we can be more scalable from our human standpoint, and because we are limited, our brains are limited to our skull. We cannot grow our brains. So we can plug other machines around it, but then the machines may take over. But if we connect a brain to a brain, maybe we can have more scalability. So that was the process, the thought process. But what happens then is that you have to make a choice between, in the story, the characters had to make a choice between being slaves to a computer or being connected to these hive mind that they lost some of their individuality. And there's a philosophical question, individual question that the characters had to answer. That is like, which one is worse?
Yeah, exactly.
Being a slave with individuality, or being free but just a small part of this, but a cog of another creature. And I think those are. Man, I'm not saying this is not a prediction. This is just a thought experiment on possibility based on two technologies that are about to show up.
But that's also how important is, PJ, narrative when we talk about imagine new ways of how the world could be, right? Like if we think how science fiction is the one who created this persona of the robot that is taking over the world, the Terminator, etc. But then you have, I don't know, Isaac Asimov, that with the three laws of robotics came up with a possible, open a window to say, oh, maybe we are gonna have like this symbiosis, and when you hear, I don't know, let's say Elon Musk speaking about, people's gonna choose to be connected or disconnected through their brains, but also we are already having a symbiosis with the iPhone, right? So what I like about what you're doing in terms of your narrative, well, it's something that you, by the way, have been doing when you did the Beauty Inside, right? Like how technology, we saw, by the way, I want to talk about that later, but I found the beautiful of how narrative is so powerful that can build a whole new world. Like the fact that we are having a rosé right now, by the way, cheers for that. but also giving us a perspective on and reflect on ourselves, on the world that we're living, no?
Yeah, and I read an article a few days ago from Yuval Harari, the guy who wrote Homo Sapien and Homo Deus, about how AI is hacking into the human operational system, that humanity's operational systems system are the stories that we tell, are the myths and the tales and the way we always, in one way or another, we always create a story to talk about what may happen, or we create a story to describe what happened in the past, or to explain something completely different that happened and no one gets.
Right.
They're so complicated to understand. So stories are the way that we find to simplify or to compact and understand the future, the past, the present, and everything. And for the first time with these large language models, computers are starting to understand how to participate in that process.
Mm-hmm.
But because they have the ability to crunch way more data than our minds can, they can actually hack into our system, our social system, and bring things like fake stories and fake media and it can be really dangerous as well. I mean, that's not what I'm touching on my book, but it's another part of the dangers that we're gonna need to deal with.
Yeah, because again, you are totally right. Like the power of narrative, like from the Bible, and I love that point of view of how important is all coming together to understand. Okay, this is a story that I believe in, and we are follow that path. What happened when that comes also, and computers start also to create some narratives, and that's when also Harari was saying that the democracy can be even in danger because of that, right?
Yeah.
But what is interesting in my point of view is how you, because you are a guy who loved drawing from the beginning when you were a young child, then discovered computers and all programming, etc. But there was a moment which I would like to understand, when you found narrative. No, now you're an author. You're writing, but you also did this. The beauty inside. How was that process? How you came from, how important art, drawing, art direction is to actually make stories.
It had never been separate from me.
Okay.
I mean, I don't remember the separation. I have always been that little kid alone in the corner, either drawing or writing or programming.
Okay.
My imagination always worked on one of those three things. Later, or maybe at the same time, but it was a separate thing. Had always been a separate thing. There was fighting. That is another part of my life that I kind of created to
martial arts. You mean?
Martial arts. Yeah, to experience creativity in a different way as well. But it's still a very creative, expressive form. But writing, drawing, programming have never been separated. The way, the form, and the way you tell a story for me has always been highly dependent on the medium, and I always like to play with the implications of the format and the story that is being told. So what you're asking, you're talking about the beauty side. The beauty side actually happened because we were wondering. So there's a generation here at that point, like 10 years ago, that loves movies and loves social media. How can we create a movie that is social in nature? So we created a character that would talk to the audience and would allow the audience to play the character. And what kind of story allows us the audience to play the main character? All right, what if it's a character that every day wakes up in a different body? So it's a fantastical kind of crazy premise, but it made everyone smile, because especially with Intel, that is okay, we can say that is what's inside that counts. Okay, great. It does make sense.
Makes total sense. Made total sense for the brand, and the premise was brilliant.
Yeah, it's a pretty idea that allowed people to participate. But then we were searching for a story that we could tell exclusively on that medium.
Right.
And I always did that. I always like to play with it. What are the stories? How can I use my programming to tell a little story of a train that goes into a little village? And
El Martínez, pura sabrosura tropical con acento franchute.
let me stop you there, just PJ, because there's one people in the table asking me. Let me explain because sometimes it was some years ago. So the thing is, in the moment that this person gets in love, then realizes that what the most important, the beauty is inside, and the people actually participated in the actual content, being part of it with their videos that they send, because the character could change. Sorry, I just wanted to do that.
It was a love story. Yeah. The problem that what we had to give it a story as well. The characters needed conflict, so we found that the character that Alex, that person that wakes up in a different body one day, falls in love, and then has to somehow create a relationship and explain that craziness to the other person on the other side. So it was a very romantic little magical tale told through technology, but it wasn't about technology. It was a love story. I think that's how I like to operate. It's like, all right, what is the medium that we're playing with, and what kind of stories can we tell that wouldn't be able to be told beforehand? I saw a presentation from a Stanford professor once, and he was saying explaining that what we see, that poetry that we see, that is a kind of an exotic way of writing words, is actually technology. Poetry was a way that humanity found to make words easier to remember, so that you could say something and tell it to someone else, and the person, because of the rhymes, will be able to remember and tell that story to the other person and tell the story. So it helps propagate the story with a little bit of constants. Right?
Nice. So it's a way to memory. To memorize it.
Is a technology. Like, if you read the original, if you read the Genesis in the original format from the Bible, you're gonna see that he didn't say that. I cannot do that. They said you can see that it rhymes. It has a beat. It has all the elements of poetry, because it was a story that was told orally first, and then it was written when humanity developed this way of putting ideas on paper. It became different. The technology changed, and you didn't need the rhymes anymore. And then when the press came, then it changed the way the stories were told again. And now with the computers, now in artificial intelligence, this is going to change stories again. And what kind of stories can we tell that we have never been able to tell before, that only exists because computers are making some of those decisions? I don't know, but it sounds like fun.
It sounds like fun. And I think that what I like when we talk about fun is just also finding those pieces of information or points of view in life that teach you something from another point of view. This first time, it's really, I appreciate that you're saying how the original poetry at the end has to do with actually not having a piece of paper, right? Like to write. How do you continue with your relationship with martial arts? Are you still doing jiu-jitsu? Is something you're practicing?
I have. My father was a judo black belt, so.
Oh yeah, okay.
I never thought of my. I cannot remember a day that I didn't think of myself as a martial artist.
Okay. You say you grew up as a martial artist.
Yeah, I grew up with that. So I did. I have black belts in multiple styles. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for the Brazilian jiu-jitsu for the last 3-4 years, like a crazy person.
Oh, okay.
I'm good at that, but I train hard. But I have always done some kind of martial arts.
No, I'm Brazilian, so always I'm be good. I also practiced judo in my childhood, and I remember always Brazilian were a very good champion. And then actually my kids also practice jiu-jitsu here with the Gracie Academy. I think it's amazing how jiu-jitsu came to establish a new era of sports, of a big sport that is mixed martial arts. Which at the end, if we think about it, it's ruled by jiu-jitsu. Like I know boxing is there, like the rest are there, but I will say that the actual king or queen of the competition is jiu-jitsu. What do you think?
I mean, I remember seeing the first UFC. We are like in 200, almost 300 now, I think. But I see the first UFC and looking at that for like, that's what I'm gonna do for a living.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for like, that's. I was a teenager, was fighting like this, and I got into like a mixed martial arts kind of competition back in Rio, and I did not like what happened and how it worked. Not the fight itself. I don't mind the fighting. I don't mind losing.
Right.
I don't mind getting punched in the face. I don't mind any of that. But the minutes before the fight, all the way to that stare down, I hated that so much. Of like, I cannot have a profession where a big chunk of what I do is so dreadful. And so I decided back then that like, yeah, it's gonna be a hobby, but not a profession for me. Since then, I never stopped training. I tried to train as many different things as I could, striking and grappling, and you know, you see, if you track the recent history of fighting, you can see different styles rising to the top and be the most dominant ones until the rest of the community finds out a way to deal with it, and then something else becomes more dominant, then something else becomes more dominant. I mean, like it's always switches, which is the nature of competition. It's the nature of war, the nature of any kind of competition that is, there's always something being secretly developed that is going to break the patterns and is going to work against everything else until the world understand that the breakage of the pattern as part of the pattern, and then they're gonna then everyone is it, which is true with creativity as well, which is, I think, is going to be the next few decades of creativity with the participation of artificial intelligence is going to be a little bit like that.
Right.
Computers are really good on understanding patterns, much better than humans. But humans are better at breaking patterns because we have the feelings that computers don't, and we get bored like computers don't. So I think the next 20 years at least is going to be us seeing us as an audience, humanity as an audience, getting bored by what computers keep repeating, and then it's going to take one individual to create something different. And the computers are going to try to understand, they're going to work to try to understand what is a pattern behind that. They're going to incorporate that as a pattern, and then we're going to be bored again, and then another human is going to create that, which is how culture works, right?
Right.
There's a style of music that is born in a small town somewhere. It becomes popular there, becomes popular in the country, becomes popular in the world. Everyone is listening to it. Everyone's dancing to it. It's great, awesome. But then we start to get bored, and then someone that does the opposite of that, and then creates a new style, and then it grows, and it becomes popular, it becomes a big deal, and then we get bored again. It's just going to happen in smaller cycles, which is fine, because then as breaking the cycle is going to be our position, then we're going to have more opportunities to thrive.
Yeah, no, I agree, because I think that's where humans we are different from the computer. That is this sense of looking for, okay, nice, what's next? I got it. What's next? No, I think that feeling is something that drives us.
Yeah, boredom has always been a force for creativity. If you talk to neuroscientists anywhere in the world, they're going to say that we need that break, because we need that point that we're not thinking about anything, we're not doing anything. It's a big part of how the creative parts of our brain operate. It's not a coincidence that so many people claim to have ideas in the shower or on walk when they're on kind of walking their dogs and everything. Is because when we engage on boring, repetitive tasks, your brain gets into, okay, I'm in the zone. I can create something new. So that's why we have mantras. That's why we pray. Is because our brains actually enjoy being in that repetitive, mechanical mode that we call boredom. You know, and so
interesting.
Is a springboard for creativity. And as a society, we look at things, and once we get bored, we crave for more. And then that's when people that have been bored a little bit ahead of everyone else and have the chance to create something new. And that's what we create artistry.
Interesting. No, interesting that I haven't thought about boredom and mantra together, but it makes total sense, right? Like when you are there meditating and just repeating and putting your brain in this moment of okay, try to take everything out. No, there's something that happens there that makes total sense.
Esto es El Martínez.
That loop put your brain on a mode, like a flow mode that is different.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
It's like it's the same thing that happens when you're walking. When you're walking,
right.
You didn't turn off your brain, but you're telling your brain to take left step, right step, left step, right step, left step, right step. And that sequence of left, right, eventually you can do that without thinking about it, and then your brain is operating, but it's free at the same time. It's in motion but free. And that's when you say, when you pray, Ave Maria, it gets in that same mode. Every time when you take a shower, it's the same thing. We're doing our things, and we know we have done that so many times that our brain can get in motion without being fully utilized. Then the creative parts work.
Interesting because that's when you have that part of boredom. Maybe when we with the AI, I'm going back to the AI, having more time to come up with more ideas at the same time, then we're gonna have that moment of boredom to look for the new ideas. I really like the action you guys did with the ADC, the Art Directors Club, with the 101 art directors collaborating with AI, doing this immersive digital experience of pieces to celebrate the 102 years for the ADC. Does that have a little bit to do with again, what's coming, what's next, for celebrating that collaboration?
I mean, that project came from the conversation I was having with Kevin, the CEO of the One Club, and we're talking about how we all sense that AI has to do with the future of this business. Some people hate that it has to do with it, and some people love that it has to do with it because it resets the whole thing. But it's very different. Your opinion from the inside is very different from your opinion from the outside. If you're just trying to understand AI by reading about it, by seeing the work that is being produced, is one thing. The moment you give yourself a task and you try to get something done, your impression changes.
Dang.
It may change to make you hate it even more, to love it even more, but it's significantly different. It's very visceral.
When you experience it, you mean, right?
Yeah. It's like the experience of actually trying to do something with AI changes how you see creativity and how you see the future of our profession, how you see artificial intelligence as well. So we feel like, what if we do that with the 101 professionals, and then have a discussion and collect the impression that they have. So that's why not only they're doing the work, but they're recording, they're submitting videos with their experience and what they felt after doing that. And that experience is actually what the work is.
Exactly.
The exhibit is not to show the work that they're doing, because honestly, the work, by the time that we finish the exhibit, we're still uploading more and more stuff. By the time that we put the last round, the first round is so old in terms of what the technology can do.
Right.
It's not that important. But no, the work itself is not what we're doing. The experiment is the human experience. Is looking at that and like, okay, this is different from what I thought. And now I was looking at AI this way, now I look at this way. And I'm, as like the kind of curator of that, I'm learning a ton of things from this conversation I'm having with them.
I can imagine. But I can totally see that you're in a kind of a mission which I like, is like, guys, let's play more with the AI. No, I think I will take that as a like, come on, it's there. Why won't you use it? This is just try it, no?
Yeah, and it concerns me. I'm at the same time terrified and thrilled with the world ahead, and I think it's okay. we can be excited from a professional standpoint, we can be threatened from a company standpoint if you have stuff that, things can change so much, and we can be terrified as a citizen at the same time. It's okay. I think once you separate those things, even kind of allow you to deal with the anxieties a little bit more, the anxieties with the unknown a little bit more. But I think it's our ability to play with it in these early stages that is going to allow us to deal with that better in the future. If we only allow ourselves to either do AI at a large scale or not at all, it's way too dangerous, because at large scale, it has power, it may have developed powers, it may develop circumstances or uses or results that we don't know. We don't know if we want them or not. But once you're inside of it, you're participating and interacting with this new kind of computing, you have glimpses of what the future could be, and you can prepare for that. So playing, I think playing is essential. And honestly, playing is how mammals are architected to understand the world around them. Before we learn about gravity in high school, we try to put our real toys on our imaginary tables, and you see it falling, and you learn that things fall, right? And you learn that because you're playing with it.
Exactly.
Way before you have the ability to formulate and understand the mathematics and the physics and the rules, the laws that
you're actually experiencing it, right?
Yeah.
You're touching it, you're feeling, you're seeing what happened, right?
I think that is essential. The world is going to change so much with this new kind of computing that I have a sense of urgency to see what the future is going to be from the inside, and I'm on a mission, literally on a mission, to get as many people as I can to get their hands dirty, to roll up their sleeves and try, because right now I would say that either you're trying to perform a task using AI with some kind of AI tool, or you're a follower.
Right?
Way more than it was at the beginning of the internet. This is the fundamental shift in power that people who are being able to see things from the inside now are going to be calling the shots in the next 10 years. And I would rather be part of that group calling the shots than being part of the group that is just following these
Me too.
calls. Of course, there'll be people that gonna break these rules, what I'm saying, but I think the majority is gonna operate like that.
I agree. So yes or no? Everybody they do is like, yeah, we have to embrace it. I agree. I totally agree. And cheers for the unknown, man. Cheers for the unknown. It's always much interesting, the world, when we have this moment, of not really knowing what's going to happen. I don't know. I enjoy it particularly. But anyway, PJ, it has been amazing to see you. I'm sorry. I'm not very good. I hope in English I did, but the P, the J, and why? By the way, why PJ? It's
Paulo Jorge.
Oh, Paulo Jorge. I was like, how do I call you? PJ? I don't know. Paulo Jorge. Paulo.
Yeah, but no one calls me that anymore. If someone screams it out in the street, I won't even realize that it's me.
No, muito prazer. Obrigado. Amazing conversation. I hope you like this podcast.
It was awesome.
And see you. I hope this to repeat it, no?
Awesome.
Thank you, amigo.
Good to talk about the future with the glass of wine.
Yeah. Cheers.
Todos los derechos reservados y todos los torcidos depravados. El Martínez.
¿Qué tal, François? ¿Cómo te vi? ¿Cómo me viste con el inglés? Estoy una bestia. Nada más ahora me falta es el francés. Espérate, ya estamos al aire. And that's how late night ended up in our Martínez, your podcast bar as always. Con tecnología podcast 3000 for everybody. Muchachos, espero que esto haya sido something beautiful for everybody. Y si no entendiste lo que viene después, te la dejo así. Sonaba como un de Rosé, s'il vous plaît, sympathique, sympathication para todo el mundo. Este no va a ser el último episodio del Martínez en inglés porque decidí, vale, que me quiero encontrar con la gente que no solamente habla español, como para traer un poco de lo que está pasando en todas partes del mundo y oír hablar a los nuevos pensadores que están cambiando las cosas. ¿Cómo la ven? O lo que es lo mismo, for everybody who's changing the thing, here comes for all the creators. Everybody have a good time. Salud, pa'lante y para atrás. Los quiero.
Este episodio fue mezclado y musicalizado por el gran Ahmed Cosío en Ciudad de México.
Locución de la voz, Marley Figueroa desde LA.
Investigación y booking, Natalia Visione desde Buenos Aires. Escrito por Sebastian Arrechedera. Dirección de arte y redacción, Ángela Forti. Una producción colaborativa de Rainbow Lobster. El Martínez, un podcast bar improvisadamente meticuloso.